Hey, everybody. Whoop, there we go. Okay. Hey, everybody. This is Carl. Welcome to Carl's Opinion. It's our live call-in show. Just want to thank everybody for being here tonight. And let me just get this adjusted right here. There we go. And we've got a lot of news to get to today. A lot of news to get to today. So we'll probably get to it right away. And let's see. Let's take a look to see what's going on here. And let's see. All right, just want to see if everybody can hear me in the chat room. Let's see. Well, it sounds like everybody can hear me, so we should be good to go. Anyway, let's go and get to the news today, and we'll get to that right now. All right, let's see here, and we'll just cut on over. All right, first story of the day that I picked up on was she's winning, the press protects Pelosi. And that is a common theme that's been going on in Washington for quite some time. And this author even alludes to that in here. It says, PI media columnist Jim Treacher once summarized the news media in just 19 words. Modern journalism is all about deciding which facts the public should know because they might reflect badly on Democrats. Ms. Treacher tweeted that over 4 years ago. And let's see, let's take this call-in number thing down so we can actually see the article a little bit better. There you go. And basically, that was over 4 years ago, and basically journalists have been doing nothing more than protecting the Democratic Party. The sentiment has since been revisited by both Insta pundit Glenn Reynolds and Gail Hurut, a University of San Diego law professor, and author of a new academic paper titled Perceptions of Newsworthiness, are contaminated by a political usefulness bias, a story which is useful to the preferred political cause, wins approval and attention from the public and from the press as well. Formulaic rules of journalism, while important, do not provide any effective resistance to biases that arise earlier in the process of deciding which stories are newsworthy enough to deserve coverage in the first place. So basically what that's saying is you have a bias of, well, basically, the bias is not so much when they get on the air and they talk about a story, you can hear their bias. The bias is in deciding what stories to cover and what stories not to. The bias, you can easily spot bias in a reporter when they're talking about a story, or they're sarcastic, or their tone is negative, things of that sort. Things of that sort. But it's harder if you're a viewer and you're only getting your news from, like, say, one outlet. Like, say you're just an MSNBC viewer, and all you're getting is just that one outlet. Let's see. And you only see what the stories they actually choose to cover. And, so you may get stories about how Pelosi is fighting tough and everything else, but you won't get any stories like, for instance, at least they'll cover it like in the second half of the show. They'll maybe give it a minute. For instance, when Trump signed the prison reform bill, I mean, that hardly got any mention whatsoever. There's no big roundtable discussions about it. There was no big half-hour long specials about it. There was no 15-minute specials about it. It's just got a couple of minutes mentioned, that he signed this bill. And the only reason why CNN even covered it at all probably was because Van Jones was there. Same thing when he did the Opportunity Zones rollout. I mean, you're talking probably $100 billion worth of investment into the, inner cities, urban areas, a lot of areas affected, a lot of areas where black people live. Talking, private capital investment, estimated at about $100 billion in the next 10 years. No coverage on that whatsoever. Further, peace breaking out in between North and South Korea. No coverage on that whatsoever. Nothing about landmines being removed, guard towers being taken down, a train getting ready to be run through between the North and the South. None of that whatsoever. So there's your bias there, and that's what they're talking about in this article. And let's see what we got here. All right. And business for optimism. Again, the story points out things like, the business community is really excited about the current climate. A new Zogby, here we go here. Poll of 400 say 79% say they will add positions in 2019, while 55% do not expect to lay off workers. Another 47% say Mr. Trump's tax cuts will help their bottom line. See any coverage on that anywhere? No? Gee. You know, I mean, and that's the whole point of this. You know, that's what's going on here. So, you know, here we go. This talks about Maryland socialists, but there's a story here that I didn't want to get to. Trump honoring MLK Day, that's important. But let me get to this story. This, I think, is one of the most important stories I've seen in several weeks. Hispanics are increasingly rallying for President Trump, according to a new NPR PBS NewsHour Marist poll. Now, anybody not familiar with NPR and PBS, it's like the most, I mean, it makes MSNBC look conservative. These are the most liberal outlets possible. This is crazy. Hispanics are increasingly rallying for President Trump, according to a new NPR PBS NewsHour Marist poll, which finds that 50% of Hispanics surveyed now approve of the job President Trump is doing. 50% of Hispanics. When did you hear that covered by MSNBC or CNN? Nobody mentioned that poll, and that was by NPR and PBS. I mean, and NewsHour, the PBS NewsHour show, and a Marist poll. Again, very liberal organizations, and they are coming out and saying that according to their polling, 50% of Hispanics approve of the job President Trump is doing. That's up 19 percentage points since December. That's crazy. I mean, and that should be reported all over the place, but it's not. You won't hear about that anywhere. Excuse me. No, they won't mention that anywhere. Right away, the narrative they want to paint is since Trump is pushing for this border wall and everything, that the Hispanic support is actually dropping from 30% lower. Actually, it looks like it's up 19 points from, I guess it was like 31% up to 50%. Meaning that Hispanics who are generally small, I said this before, if you heard my video I did a couple nights ago, and just before I saw this article, obviously, before I saw this poll, what did I say? I said Hispanics are natural Republicans. Once this immigration thing gets worked out, they're generally, a lot of them, and understandably so, single issue voters. You know, they want this immigration issue fixed. So if the immigration issue is fixed, or they think the president is leading on it, just like George W. Bush did in 2004, they thought he was leading on the issue, and they gave him 40%, 42% of the vote in 2004 in the election. Now, and I even said, you know, this immigration thing gets worked out, that you're going to see Trump's numbers go above 42%, possibly even 50%. I can't believe I predicted that, and I was right. I mean, that's crazy. He's now at 50% of approval among Hispanic voters. Democrats have to be scared shitless over this right now. Scared shitless. The percentage of black African American support, black vote for President Trump is increasing also, as I mentioned the other night. Mainstream media keeps talking about 8%, 8%, 8%. You might hear them say 11%, but even the NAACP in their polling found it to be 22%. 22%. Okay. Rasmussen poll had him at, I think, 36%. Okay. And then exit polling in 2016, they even asked African Americans when they were leaving the polling place, they didn't ask them to be Republican, Democrat, you vote Republican, Democrat, they asked them to determine their values. And 44% identified with conservative values. You know, the polling people didn't tell them, these are conservative values, do you identify with this? They said, do you identify with this, this, this? 44% identify with conservative values. So between the black vote going up, which is at least at a bottom, the bottom should be at least be the NAACP poll, unless someone wants to claim the NAACP is racist towards black people, and that they were lying about the numbers. They're not. Okay. Again, Roland Martin pointed this out in the governor's race with Stacey Abrams losing. He yelled and screamed at black men for not voting for her. Well, what does that tell you? Why is he yelling at black men for not voting for her? Because they didn't. A lot of them voted for Kemp, the Republican nominee for that race, and Martin knew it. It wasn't reported widely, but I guess Martin could hold his thoughts back any longer. And even though he probably didn't want the story out there that a lot of black people didn't vote for Stacey Abrams, they voted for Kemp, the Republican, he had to say something. And he said it on his radio show. And he yelled and screamed at black people for not voting for Stacey Abrams, even though Stacey Abrams was in favor of turning the state into a sanctuary state. Okay? You know, African Americans are getting it. They're getting the Democratic Party is walking away from them and heading towards the Latino vote. They're waking up to that. In sanctuary states, sanctuary cities, illegal immigration does not help African Americans. Actually, illegal immigration doesn't help Hispanic Americans who are here. You got to remember, Hispanic Americans have a lot of their families date back to 200-300 years in this country. I mean, if you go to Texas, New Mexico, Arizona, Southern California, I mean, there's families that go back 200-300 years. I mean, they've been here a long time. They're established. They have roots here. They consider themselves Americans. They do. They own small businesses. They're pro law and order. They're for low taxes. Again, they're small businesses. They're pro-family. They have large families. They're anti-abortion. Anti-abortion. Big deal. That's a big plank of the Democratic Party. They can't stand with that. Again, I've said it. They're natural Republicans. African Americans, they're getting into the workforce. They're owning small businesses. There was a 400% increase in black small-owned businesses from June of 2017 to June of 2018. Okay, 400% increase. Okay, thank you, Donald Trump. Okay, so this poll here is crazy. Goes on. Let's see. It talks about the speech. Let's see. So anyway, that's, I think, the biggest story I've seen in weeks. Again, Hispanic support for President Trump is now at 50%. Again, you won't hear that on MSNBC or CNN. They will not even cover that, even though it was done by NPR and PBS and the PBS NewsHour. They won't cover it. This is an interesting story. I'm bringing this up here. Bruce Orr's testimony on anti-Trump dossier at odds with Adam Schiff's version. If you remember, about a year ago, Nunes, Representative Nunes, Republican, who was then chairman of the committee and the Intelligence Committee in the House, I believe House Select Committee on Intelligence, or possibly just the House Full Committee on Intelligence. He came out and wrote this report saying that, hey, the FBI had relied on this dossier, and they turned it over to the FISA court judge without fully telling him that they knew it was a fraud, that it was, or that they had suspicions of it being a fraud, but that it came from the Hillary Clinton campaign, and that the FBI relied on it heavily. And when they briefed the FISA court judge to get the search warrant, surveillance warrant on Carter Page. And see, the thing about the surveillance warrant on Carter Page, everybody thinks, well, gee, that doesn't mean much. But let me explain this. Remember back in 2015, it might have been 2016, I think it was 2015, and all that information came out from the guy that leaked all that from I can't remember his name. They made a movie about him. And they showed that the NSA was spying on American citizens, that they were listening to, that they were recording every single phone call you make, everything you put out over email, text message, phone call, cell phone, hard line, I don't care what kind of line. Anything you put out there it gets collected, and it gets held, and it gets stored. That's what those big buildings are building in the middle, of the country. They're holding all these computer files. So they hold all these phone calls, and they hold all these emails and the texts. Now, they're not allowed to access they're not allowed to access those unless they get a warrant, either just a straight up warrant from a U.S. District Court judge, or in many cases a FISA warrant, which is a secret warrant from a FISA court judge. So they can't access, but they're stored. They're stored forever. I mean, they don't go away. I mean, they stay there forever. So when they got a warrant on Carter Page, it wasn't just limited to Carter Page. Remember, Obama was saying, okay, we're only going to, remember now, we're going to limit what we do to like 4 or 5, a variance away from that person we're surveilling. Meaning that he was saying we're going to limit it to like 3 or 4 or whatever the number was. Meaning that, like, okay, they surveil Carter Page. He makes a phone call to John Smith. Okay, well, they can go look at John Smith. They don't have to get a separate warrant for that. They can see who John Smith called, and they can listen to those phone calls. So then John Smith talks to, Bill Bradley, okay, and they can listen to that phone. Then they can cover all the different calls that Bill Bradley made, and then say Bill Bradley talks to, I don't know, Paul Manafort. Right? And then they listen to all the phone calls Paul Manafort makes. Well, then suddenly Paul Manafort calls Donald Trump. So they can go after and listen to him. So they said, oh, we're going to limit it to 4 or 5. There was nothing written in law that said that. Okay, we don't know the full extent of what these warrants can do. Nobody does. But we know that they were targeting Carter Page because they really wanted to hear what Trump was talking about. So here they are in the middle of a campaign. Eventually, because I'm sure Carter Page talked to somebody who talked to Donald Trump. At some point, those paths crossed. And so what they were doing was they were listening to Donald Trump during the campaign, and they didn't want him to win. All the text messages from Strzok, from Page, all that's out there. It's not a secret. Let's see what Mr. Douchebag said. Democratic politicians have an IQ level deep frying chicken in shallow water. Yeah, you don't have to call them out. That's fine. They can stay wherever they are. No problem. Oh, like I said, I made you a moderator, if you didn't notice. Oh, yeah, let me put that up there. Hold on. Okay. Oh, I'll just have to make sure I pull this up far enough so you can see it, because that's going to cover up most of the story. So there we go. Okay, let's leave that right there. Okay, there your number should be coming up momentarily. So there you go. But yeah, you can feel free to call in. I'll take the phone call whoop, let me turn that down a little bit. And yeah, feel free to call in and let us know what you're thinking and everything. And blowing off the email address down there at the bottom. Let's see. Probably should put that up a little bit. Let me fix that real quick. Okay, this will take just a second. Description. There we go. All right, so that way you can see with the email address. So you can do an email. Oh, we got our first call. Hello, caller. You're on the air. Can I help you? Caller? Hello, caller. You're on the air. This is Carl's Opinion. All right, yeah, let me turn you up there.
Everything.
All right, Mr.
Oh,
Great
I'm not
Douchebag.
doing a bit. How you doing? Everything good? Yeah, I'm not on any kind of video or anything like that.
No,
But what's up?
no. This is just a straight call-in phone number. You're just on a straight call-in.
Okay. I can't believe all the trolls last night. It's unbelievable. They don't understand. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to. It's just they don't understand that that their very freedoms are literally hanging on the balance. And then they're sitting here. They have no idea what is going on or what's happening. And I'm sure you've heard me talk on Axe's channel a few times. It's like they don't get that Trump is fighting the very people that want to take their freedoms away. You know, and it makes you think. It makes you want to pound your head against the wall when you see these people doing these you're trying to educate some people, give positive facts on certain issues that are going on. It's like these people just don't. It's like they don't want to hear. They live in a fantasy land.
Well, yeah,
You know.
that's the whole thing. It's like if you have a different opinion, I grew up in a time like I was on college campuses at the 1980s, and
Mhm.
I remember back then everybody used to debate. I mean, if you were liberal conservative, we had debates. Like I remember this one professor. He was a liberal professor. He was pro-abortion, and he was sponsoring a debate with another student organization, probably like a pro-choice student organization, a debate on the morality of abortion, and the ins and outs of it. And I remember it was like set like at six
Yeah.
o'clock at night on campus, and
Mhm.
and I was it was probably like 70% pro-abortion, 30% against abortion. I was one of the 30% against abortion. But, I didn't feel like, I needed a security guard there to voice my opinions. Nobody had his, and the professor didn't have to say, no, 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 don't attack him, during the debate, when
Yeah.
people were
Mhm.
giving their different
Yeah.
opinions. Nobody said, oh, no, leave him alone. I mean, I didn't feel like I needed an escort to my car when I left. But
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
that was that
Well.
was 30 years
Mhm.
ago. But today, forget it. I mean,
Yeah.
if that professor held that same kind of debate at University of California today, and somebody chimed in with an anti-abortion comment, that professor would be all have to be like, okay, don't attack him, just let him say this. I mean, he'd be constantly interrupting, just trying to keep people calm. So I mean, that's where it's changed in
Yeah.
the college campuses in the last 30 years. It's and with people like
Yeah.
who the trolls that come on, they've either come out of these college campuses or they just stay in their little bubble. They don't want to hear the other side.
Mhm.
They think the other because they've been
Yeah.
taught that the other side is evil. So why would you want to hear someone who's
Yeah.
evil? You know?
Yeah. Well, a liberal, today's liberals are basically Marxist leftists, and the classic. See, I'm a libertarian. I lean more right when it comes to the economy. Like by no means, I don't understand how these people think socialism can work or be such a wonderful thing because I tell you what, they're in for a root. You know what's going to hit these progressives? Like right now, out in California, when Newsom wanted to put a tax on every single text message, and these progressives are like, "Hey, wait a minute,
Yeah.
why do we need a tax?" So that tells me that they think a little bit. At least they think a little bit. You know what I'm saying? But they don't have the wisdom to see what is going on. And, they think because you're book smart, you're college graduate, that means that you know more than somebody who's lived life 20 years longer than they have. You know what I'm saying? If you're
Yeah.
young, the liberal ideology is, don't get me wrong, it's the methods that I abhor, not the ideology. I mean, yes, I wish we could live in a world where everybody got along and it was, but where everybody gets along, where everybody can, help each other. People don't look at identity, look at skin color. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I'm half Latin,
Right.
but I my family left their country for a reason because communism just doesn't work,
Right.
and where it's going to hit these progressives is when they start pushing policies to seize, let's say they have a second home that they own or something, and they want to take to put in, to put a family who's not even legal to be here. It's like Lily. I don't know if you ever heard the story of Lily Allen, the British singer. I
No.
read it a while back about her, but she actually learned a pretty. I mean, kudos to her putting her money where her mouth is. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because she actually tried to preach what she teached, but she got kicked out of her own mansion.
No.
She couldn't get these people out of there. And,
Oh
and,
wow.
and then she, yeah, I don't know if you ever read that story or
No,
not.
so in other words, she tried
Um,
evicting the people that she let in because she didn't want them there anymore, and then she couldn't get them out, and then she ended up
yeah,
having to leave.
yeah, yeah. I mean, and I'd love to see these progressives take, go down to their local tax office and say, hey, look, I'm going to pay extra tax money, for the cost of feeding and clothing. I mean, I ain't trying to sound cruel. You know what I'm saying? I understand people want to come here for a better life, but my family had to do it the right way. Why should these people be given a pass?
Right, and it's not so much like, okay, I went through the procedure, but it's the procedure that's important. In other words, when the procedure one, well, one, you're not the first step you take in this country, you're not breaking a law of this country. If you're doing it properly. So if the first thing you do when you enter this country is immediately break the law, not an outright disrespect for this country, but outright disrespect for the laws of this country. And by going through that process, also it fosters assimilation. I mean, as you know, you have to learn the language, you have to learn the history of this country, you have to pass a citizenship test. It's basically a civics test. Teaches you all the ways this country works. Of course, learning English is very important, so we can all speak. I mean, all traffic controllers have to speak English. I mean, that's mandated. So I mean, learning English will help you get a job. Will help you assimilate into the country better. You're not limited where you're going to be living. So if you don't speak English, you're limited to areas where you can live where everybody else speaks Spanish. So that just it reinforces like the identity politics and stuff like that. Well, did you see that story I was just talking about, where the latest it was a NPR, National Public Radio, PBS NewsHour Marist poll. It showed that support from Hispanics for Donald Trump is at 50%, 50%. Did you see that? Hello? Still there? Hello? Hello? Yep, I lost the great douchebag. All right, we'll move on to the next story. I don't know how that happened. Let's see.
Carl, can you hear me?
Oh yeah, you're there. I better say I looked down at the phone.
I don't know what happened.
Yeah, my phone's still
sorry
on.
about that. I don't know. It must have been my phone.
Oh, it's okay.
It must have been my phone. I might have accidentally hit something. Can you still hear me?
Yeah, I got you. You're on.
Okay,
You're still on live.
Um,
Hey, I was telling you,
no,
I think you blanked out there. When did I?
mhm.
I was telling you that were you on my live stream when I was talking about the
Yeah, I heard you.
about
I think I accidentally hit the mute on
no
my
no
phone.
oh,
But
okay,
no,
so
go ahead.
yeah, the NPR poll. In fact, let me back that up real quick
Mhm.
here.
Carl, while you're looking for that,
No, I got it right here.
something,
Go ahead.
oh, okay. No, I was just going to say, and even if they're listening, the trolls, obviously they are. They wouldn't have been calling in. I got a question for them. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm not trying to, it's just,
No, go ahead.
they advocate, they want health care for all, right? And the funny thing that they ought to ask themselves is, why are illegals getting health care before that? And they're not outraged at it. That right there, they ought to think about long and hard. And they also ought to look at whether, they also probably ought to start looking at, where, does the people that I vote for, like the Alexandria Ocasio-Cortezes, does she really have my back? I mean, just a few months ago when Bernie Sanders was running, progressives didn't vote for a Democrat who took money from big interest groups, which is one thing I, agree with them. Money should stay out of politics.
Right.
But at the same time, it's like now it's okay for donors like Soros or Steyer or Butberg, to I said his name wrong. I'm sorry, Bloomberg.
Right.
To give money to these progressives, and they're okay with it.
Well, no, I mean the way they see it is, look, they'll take money, the ends justify the means. So I mean, look, if you're trying to look for like a moral equivalency, or for them to say, oh, well, yeah, illegals are getting health care, we're not, so we're going to be mad at the illegals. No, they're not going to be mad at the illegals. What they're going to say is we should all get health care. And they're going to say that, if we give them health care, it's going to be better for us, and then we can get health care, and we can all get health care, that kind of thing. So if you're looking for them to have some kind of like moral, feel bad morally about, the fact that they're taking money from billionaires, they're okay with that as long as the billionaires are on their side.
There's not enough billionaires to tax in this country. There's not enough millionaires to tax in this country to pay for all the things. I mean, like, let's say, for example, like the college, the free college, right?
Yeah.
And somebody actually said, if you were to tax the lottery 7% each ticket, right? Somebody buys, that would actually advocate more for, paying for some of the free program, like the free college programs, like, to put people through college who can't afford it. Okay, maybe they're onto a little something there. But even if, little, I'm not saying all, but they're onto something there a little bit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But yet, there's still not enough tax revenue generated to pay for the trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars that it would cost to put, put everyone.
No, look, they're not. Okay, look, let me help you out.
Mm-hmm.
They don't care. Okay, so I mean, when you say, well, gee, give them the math and the numbers, they don't care about that. I mean, if you're going to argue on that level with them, you're not going to get anywhere because they don't care. Look, they're going to say, look, we have a They're going to say we have a $20 trillion debt right now. $20 trillion debt right now, 100% of GDP. So what's another $8 trillion? They're not going to. They're going to say, look, we got a $20 trillion debt because we've been involved in wars since 2001. Okay, so they're going to say, look, if we can spend money on wars, we can spend money on healthcare. I mean, that was the famous British Labor Secretary said that after World War II, when British went to full healthcare system,
Hmm.
he said, "Look, we always seem to
Yeah.
be able to find the money to go to war. Why can't we find the money for
Hmm.
healthcare?" And that's
Yeah.
that
And
analysis has been in place
mhm.
for 70 years, and that's the analysis they're going to
Yeah.
use. And they're just
Yeah.
they're again, if you think
It
about
just,
it,
yeah, it
okay,
doesn't, it doesn't,
we have
yeah.
$20 trillion in debt. So they're saying, look, we're going to add another 8 trillion
Hmm.
to it. Big deal, and everybody gets to be
Hmm.
happier.
Yeah.
So for them, that's a small
Yeah.
price to pay. Yeah, but
Yeah.
you're not going to
And
win.
it's like they
You're
don't
not going to
understand.
win on those arguments.
No, I know. Because they always resort to name calling, and then they know that they're, when you got to resort to name calling, then you lose the argument automatically. You know, and the other thing that they don't understand is that big government only creates bigger problems. You know, if you're gonna, it's like I knew people who were doctors, and they always hated it when somebody came in on Medicare because it took sometimes they'd have to fight with Medicare just to get paid. They may not see money for like 4 or 5, maybe even a year.
Yeah,
Because Medicare, some of these companies are so backlogged, they don't have they don't have the labor to, catch up. You know
right,
what I'm saying? And that's something these that's another thing that these progressives don't understand. I mean, it's like, hospitals along the border were, I don't know if they still are, but they were closing at a rapid pace because, they can't meet the demands. I mean, you never want to turn somebody away that needs help. I get that, but
right,
there has to be a point where we say, look, we can't possibly take care of every single person who wants to come in. You know,
right.
give them medical care. I mean, this is all general stuff. I know everybody knows this. But you know, if a doctor has to spend, let's say, an hour or 2 hours or whatever on a surgery, you know what I'm saying? And this person's not going to pay. Well, that doctor obviously isn't going to be able to tend to a patient who could pay for their time.
Well,
You
no, no. Look,
know,
let me look here. Look, here's the
yeah,
deal. Here's the deal. Okay, look, we have plenty of people in this country who need help, who need assistance. Okay, we have people who've been living here
yeah,
for their families date back generations.
mm-hmm,
That, again, and I talked about this earlier when I was talking about African Americans, coming out and voting against Stacey Abrams in Georgia because of the fact that she
mm-hmm.
was in favor of turning the state to a sanctuary state. They get it.
Oh, she would have destroyed Georgia. So would Gillum. Gillum would have destroyed Florida.
Yeah, and
You
so
know.
and so you see the African American vote kind of walking away from Democratic politicians who support sanctuary states, sanctuary cities, because they
Mm-hmm.
understand that
Mm-hmm.
they're the biggest competition for jobs, for housing, all kinds of things in the inner cities are illegal immigrants.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so between that and to even the Hispanics who have been surveyed on that one poll that I have up there right now, you're seeing that even they're
Mm-hmm.
coming, supporting Trump up to 50%. Well, if the African
Yeah.
American vote supports Trump, say at 35 or say 40%, say 35% even, and then you have 50% support
Mm-hmm.
among
Yeah.
Hispanics, well, he's got 20/20 locked
Mm-hmm.
up. That's the end of the day. I mean,
Yeah.
that's it.
Oh yeah.
So,
Yeah.
tell you what,
Even
though,
Bernie
tell you what, let me
Sanders.
let you
It's
go.
like
Tell you what, let me let you go because I'm going to get to
oh
some
yeah,
other.
yeah.
I'm going to get some other stories, and totally appreciate you calling
Okay.
in. I'm gonna finish up the rest of the
Oh
stories
yeah.
here, and but yeah, stay in the chat. I got you in the chat. Like I said, I made you a moderator, so that's what little blue
Okay.
wrench
Cool.
and
Yeah.
stuff. So you see anybody acting
Oh
the
yeah. Okay. I
fool?
wonder what that blue red was. Okay.
Yeah, you see anybody acting the fool? Feel
Mm-hmm.
free to grab them out of there. Okay, don't you just
Right.
don't
Well, I
you
can
don't have
point
to
out
even
their
hesitate.
ideology too. I can always point out their ideology. You know what I mean?
Well,
But I know. I
yeah,
know.
I got you. All right, man. Have a good one.
No, no, I wouldn't do. Yeah.
All right.
All right.
Bye
Bye bye.
bye.
All right. Bye.
All right, we do not take any unknown persons. So if you're an unknown person calling in, we do not take any unknown persons. Let's see, this may be actually a phone call. Nope, we don't take any unknown persons calling in. So please don't call in. And anyway, so let's get on to the next story. Let's see what we got here. Okay. All right, this is where we left off. We were talking about Bruce Orr's testimony on anti-Trump dossier at odds with Adam Schiff's version. Oh, let's see what we got here. Up again, unknown person. We don't take any unknown persons calling in. So, Bruce Orr's testimony on anti-Trump dossier at odds with Adam Schiff's version. This is rather interesting, this story here. Let me pull this up really quick here. Senior department officials, Bruce Orr has provided a point-by-point narrative of his actions promoting the 2016 Democratic Party finance dossier that conflicts with Representative Adam B. Schiff's official version, according to a comparison of the two. Mr. Schiff, a California Democrat who has promised a wide investigation of President Trump as chairman of the House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence, issued a memo last year on the FBI's early on investigation to the Republican campaign. It was a counter to a report. Let's see. Up 949. Let's see what we got. 949. This is Carl. You got Carl's opinion. What can I do for you? Hello? Hello, caller. You're on live. Yep, you're live. Fine. How are you? What can I do for you? Hey, guess what? This is really funny because actually the only one hearing you right now is me. You're not going. You're not going out on the screen. So thanks for your thoughts. I really appreciate it. Take care. Anyway, that was a troll, and unfortunately, you guys did not have to listen to him. Only I did. So I figured out a way to keep these people from going on air live, and so if you notice, he wasn't on air. So anyway, to anybody else who wishes to call in, if you do call in and you say anything stupid, there's a 30-second delay, and you will not be getting on air. It'll just be only I will be listening to you. And considering I'm much more educated, much more intelligent than most of the trolls calling in, what you say to me doesn't really bother me, but it's not going to make it on air. So just to let you know. So if you want to call in, you want to talk to me, that's fine, but it's still not going to make it on air. It's not going to go live. It's not going to be on YouTube. So anyway, with that said, let's go on to this story, and let's see what we got here. Let's see. All right, Mr. Schiff, a California Democrat who has promised a wide investigation of President Trump as chairman of the House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence, issued a memo last year on FBI's early on investigation of the Republican campaign. It was a counter to a report issued by Representative Devin Nunes, a California Republican. Let's see, Carl, we need to put the intelligent-only people call-in sign back up again. That's right. Last night we what I did was under the call-in number I put in for intelligent people only intelligent people only for calling in. Of course, that would eliminate anybody on the left because we all know there are no intelligent people on the left anymore. They all vanished. Anybody that was halfway intelligent ran to the right probably about 10, 12 years ago. So anyway, let's see. So anyway, so what Nunes did, Nunes wrote a report. He was chairman of the committee, and Schiff blasted it because basically what Nunes was saying was that the FBI relied on this the famous Trump dossier, which was put together by Fusion GPS, which was hired by a law firm of Hillary Clinton's for the campaign to get some anti-Trump dirt. And they went and found this retired, former MI6, quote unquote spy who had got fired under unique circumstances from MI6, let's just say, and they found this guy who hated Trump also. So, he just came up and made up a whole bunch of crap. He didn't believe in any of this stuff, and he was just talking to people, and they were just feeding him more crap. And he was like, "Yeah, he didn't source it, he didn't check it himself, he didn't verify it himself. He was just happy to write some nasty stuff about Donald Trump. He hands it off to Fusion GPS. They're like, yay! They try getting it out to the press. Well, even the liberal press are like, "Whoa, this is pretty salacious. This is pretty crazy. We need to verify this. We need this verified before we can put it on the air." And they couldn't verify for him. So during the campaign, when the press were given this, the press refused to publish it. CNN, MSNBC, everybody said, "No, man, unless we can verify your sources, unless we can verify this, we're not going to publish it." Which of course drove the Clinton campaign crazy because they're like, "Well, no, we need this out." And they were trying to get, Bruce Orr, whose wife worked for Fusion GPS, Nellie Orr, who was working on the anti-Trump dossier. They tried to get him to push it through, the FBI and leak it. And everybody they tried leaking it to, every news organization they tried leaking it to, wouldn't take it. They said, "No, we're not going to publish this. This is crazy stuff." So Nunes puts out that what they did, since they couldn't get it leaked out to the press, they used it to get the warrant for Carter Page. And Adam Schiff said, "No, that's not true. That didn't happen. That wasn't used. The FBI didn't rely on that for going to the FISA court. They didn't put it in front of the FISA court judge. Nothing like that." And even though Bruce Orr testified that, yeah, we knew it was done by Steele, in the little footnote they put in, they said we suspect that the person who paid for this and put all this together was someone who doesn't want Trump to win. But they only said suspect when Bruce Orr said, "No, we knew flat out that Steele and Fusion GPS they hated Trump. They didn't want Trump to win." So so now Orr's testimony comes out and it rebuts everything Schiff said, and it backs up Nunes with everything he said. So there you go. And so where was Schiff getting this information from? He was just making it up. But it doesn't matter. He just makes it up, sticks it out there. Howard Reid's famous comment when he lied about who was it? Mitt Romney in 2012 when he said Mitt Romney hasn't paid any taxes. Well, he had. So they asked him, I think just last year, they asked him, he's like dying, he's looking crappy and stuff. And a reporter asked him, he goes, "Well, that was a lie." He goes, "Yeah." He goes, "Do you feel bad about it?" He goes, "No, Romney's not president, is he?" It's like the ends justify the means. Same thing with Adam Schiff. He's the same way. So let's get to the next story here. All right. Twitter Tiki Torch mob goes after March for Life. There's another interesting story. There's a picture there of Karen Pence. That's Mike Pence's wife, of course, talking about taking up teaching in a private Christian school. Of course, that's a bad thing now. If you're Christian, if it was a private Muslim school preaching, jihad and, suicide bombing, you'd be just fine. But since you'd be teaching in a private Christian school, well, that's a bad thing. All right. Let's see. The liberals are scared to debate you. I like that. Excuse me. All right. All right. So this is from Washington Times again. Again, this is a newspaper I subscribe to. I like it a lot. Let me see if I can pull it up. Washington Times. Yay, Washington Times. So anyway, let me pull this up. Just when you think political discourse in America could not possibly get any dumber, along comes an other angry, bigoted mob. First, they got whipped up by last week's decision by Second Lady Karen Pence to return to teaching at a private Christian school, this being America and all, the birthplace of religious freedom and tolerance. The ensuing meltdown was astonishing even by today's moronic standards of public debate. By the end of the week, the phrase exposed Christian schools went viral. If only there were an ointment or a cure or a prophylactic for such a nasty virus. Now, I believe this is in the editorial section, just to let you know. It makes people dumb and thoughtless and impairs their judgment. Left untreated, this virus causes people to froth at the mouth and spit invective at innocent strangers. Most often, this virus is associated with untreated, advanced stage Trump derangement syndrome. In mob form, particularly in the safety of online forums, those suffering from this virus become fully infantile, develop deep paranoia, and will lash out at complete strangers with ignorant, bigoted, racial. Sorry, somebody getting some ice and coming through on the microphone. So anyway, in mob form, particularly in the safety of online forums, those suffering from this virus become fully infantile, develop deep paranoia, and will lash out at complete strangers with ignorant, bigoted, racial, and religious animus. The sort of behavior that is not accepted in any polite society anymore today. Full-grown adults, mothers and fathers of actual children, were infected by the virus. They condemned not just Ms. Pence, but Christian schools generally and smeared an entire religion. Adding to their rage was the prospect of the March for Life, an annual gathering of tens of thousands of people, often of hundreds of thousands, on the National Mall. Religious bigots have long despised the March for Life, a remarkable gathering of peaceful people giving voice to the truly voiceless. These people do this every year on what always seems like the coldest day of the year. Also, they are famous for never leaving behind any trash. Yes, they clean up after themselves, unlike other rallies in D.C. But with exposed Christian schools, a trending rage, the lusty mob smelled blood. Their Twitter tiki torches were burning hot, their shiny forceps glinting in the sun. They went in search of victims who jeer and bully and smear with their vitriol. They found them on the steps of Lincoln Memorial, young students from a Catholic high school in Kentucky. The internet mob, is there a more ignorant, prejudiced, or cowardly mob, was relentless, accusing young boys who had finished the March for Life of disrespecting elderly gentlemen who wandered into the group banging a drum. The offense, one boy stood there watching the man, smiling as the man banged the drum inches from his nose. Literally, I saw the video, inches from this guy's nose. Walked right up in the kid's face. Little kid, he's an adult, the indigenous person, Native American, Indian, got right up into his nose, in his face, banging his drum in his face. Nearby, other boys continued with the school chants they were reciting when the drummer walked up. They're singing their school chants, like, go rah rah, whatever the name of the school is. The bigoted mob denounced the boys for the color of their skin and ridiculed them for their religion. The lusty mob found out where the boys attended school and began harassing school officials. Within hours, the mob, many of them grown adults with children of their own, had so thoroughly destroyed these young boys' reputation that the students feared they would be expelled from school. Surely, once the mob has put away his tiki torches and turned off the internet, cooler heads will prevail. Still, left behind by the angry mob is the most appalling pile of garbage that will follow these boys for the rest of their lives. And the next headline, critics' new video shows Native American man confronting teens with MAGA hats at March for Life. So he was the guy who came up to them. Okay. Conflict at March for Life gets second look after new video emerges. See, at first the video was like, oh, these kids are just harassing this Indian. It's like, oh, wearing MAGA hats. Oh, that's awful. Well, then the full video came out. And it showed, at first, there was a group of I think they're like black Israelites, I'm not sure of the complete ideology, what they stand for, but they were yelling. There was a black kid was in this group with the other kids, they all go to the school together, and started yelling at him like, oh, they're going to, harvest your organs, like in that movie Get Out. They said, you better get out. Remember the movie, and the kid's like, what the hell? So anyway, so they leave that scene, and then next thing you know, this Native American decides to come up and confront these kids. They're young kids. They're teenagers. What are you doing? This guy's an adult, supposedly a Vietnam vet. And he's going to come up and confront these young teenagers, banging the drum, gets right in the kid's face, banging the drum right in the kid's face, like wanting the kid to do something. And later I saw the interview. The guy lied, okay? The guy fucking lied. He says, oh, I try to get, in between them and some, young black teens who were just preaching the gospel. There were like four big dudes, and they weren't young teens, and they weren't preaching the gospel. They were yelling all kinds of hate and vitriol and all kinds of racist remarks and everything else. I mean, look, these guys could take care of themselves. Trust me. I mean, if I was walking down an alley, these are my friends, I wouldn't be afraid of walking down the alley. Okay, so I mean, be like, yeah, that alley looks pretty nasty. I turn around and I see these four guys. They're my friends. I'm like, oh, I'm not worried about shit. So I mean, trust me, like this old Native American didn't need to come and rescue them from anybody. Okay, trust me, these four dudes, they can take care of themselves. Okay, these were not like SJW type guys. These are like tough, badass dudes. So they definitely need rescuing from a bunch of pimple-faced 15, 16, 17, 18-year-old teenagers. So anyway, so then he just decided to stick his nose into their face, literally with their drum, not because he was rescuing them from these poor, black guys over there that were like huge. These guys are like 6'2", 6'4". I mean, these guys are big. I mean, they didn't need rescuing from anybody. Again, let alone pimple-faced teenage kids. So, no, he just wanted to get in his face because they saw they were wearing the Make America Great Again hat. They were young kids. He knew he could go up and intimidate them. And he knew he'd have all his friends, which they did. They followed all these other adults, coming behind him. And these kids are like probably scared shitless, with all these adults in their faces. They don't know what to do. These kids are probably being taught to respect adults, but like these guys are like right up in their face, and they're yelling things like Europeans go back home to where you came from and all this stuff. I mean, just typical crap. And So, but when he did the interview, I mean, instead of just saying, nah, I got up in their face first, I walked up to them, I shouldn't have done that, and I was acting the fool, and they started yelling at me back. No, he lied. He said, oh, I put myself in there, and suddenly I was afraid of a bunch of 15, 16-year-old kids. None of these kids looked like they were above like 100 pounds soaking wet. He wasn't afraid of anybody. Plus, he had all his big buddies with him. Okay, trust me, nothing bad was going to happen to him. It was a bunch of BS. Okay, so with that said, but I just can't. I still can't believe this guy got up on TV and lied. I mean, just lied, flat out lied. It's one thing if the press picks up a story and looks at a video and says, "Oh, gee, that's wrong," but it's another thing for that guy, this Native American, to get up there and just lie straight out. Says he was trying to rescue these four little teenagers preaching the gospel. No, again, these were big dudes. Okay, these were adults. They weren't four little teenagers. Okay, again, these guys were my friends. I was walking down an alley, and I wouldn't be worried about walking down that alley. I'd be just fine with that. See, there's no greater sickness than Trump derangement syndrome. People are seeking counseling left to right. O'Shea Blockcast channel. Yo, oh, he came on. Hey, Mr. O'Shea Blockcast. Sorry I didn't see you come on there. Thank you so much for coming on. Just let everybody know, Mr. O'Shea Blockcast channel is actually Mr. O'Shea Duke Jackson, and he was kind enough to put me on the show and give me a big shout out. And like 120 of his subs came over like within 20 minutes, which is why I have so many subs right now. I mean, I only had like 11. So thanks, Mr. O'Shea Jackson. Sorry I didn't catch you there. I was dealing with this article over here. But thanks for coming on the show. Totally appreciate it. And so back to this story. So again, I just can't believe this guy actually got on the air and lied and said he was afraid and said that the kids were coming, trying to like hurt him or something. Like he was afraid he was actually going to get hurt. Yeah, in the National Mall in front of the Lincoln Memorial. Right. With like 20 of his friends, surrounding him. Yeah, he was afraid. Of course he wasn't. And I mean, I don't understand. That makes no sense. But the nice thing is, video cameras don't lie. And anyway, so the videos showed this guy being the jackass of the story. So, there I'll put the headline back up again. Critics' new video shows Native American man confronting teens with mega hats for March for Life. And again, this was in front of the Lincoln Memorial over there at the National Mall in D.C. All right, let's get to the next story. Let's take a look here. What do we got? Let's see. Let's see. Let's see. A spoof tells a deeper story. That's interesting. So this talks about there's a fake edition of the Washington Post that came out, and basically it was so goofy that you would think that there's no way this was real, but with the news today that it could be real. Let's just see. Remember, and I think that was that was the last story I had for tonight. So that's pretty much all I got to talk about for tonight. There's really not a lot of news going on. Let me get back up to this one headline. They say never go quiet on the air. So that's me making sound effects noise so I don't go quiet. There you go. And anyway, so again, if anybody wants to call in, there's a phone number, 775-273-8970. If you want to appear on a vMix video call, you send me an email. Just put in the chat that you send me an email, and we'll be good to go there. And let's see, what else we got here? Oh, let's see. Gotta reach. So I'll be able to see him better next time. Boom. Yep. There we go. Yeah. Anyway, Mr. O'Shea Jackson, I just made you a moderator. That way I'll be able to see you better next time. Because it looked like if I see you with the blue with the wrench, then I'll notice you quicker, a little bit faster. So anyways, don't say, hey, yo. But anyway, that was totally cool. But anyway, so critics' new video show, Native American man confronting teens. And anyway, Mr. Great Douchebag, if you want to call in again, that'll be fine. And we'll take your phone call. Anything you want to talk about, that'll be fine. Otherwise, probably going to pretty much wrap this up for the evening and call it a night. So I just want to thank everybody who's been watching tonight, and to anybody who's going to watch later. And let's see what we got going on here. So let's cut over. There we go. That's me, A, and we're going to go ahead and throw some music out at you guys so you can listen to some music. Let's get some music here. Boom. Anyway, thanks again. If you liked the video, hit the like button on there. If you liked the video a lot, go ahead and subscribe. And again, thanks for everybody joining in the chat. And thanks for everybody been viewing, and to those who will view later. And I'll put the actual time the video is going to start on the video so that you don't have to listen to all the music if you don't want to. But anyway, have a good one. Take care.
Take it slow.